Everybody, this is Cory Lambertson with Whitmix Corporation. I was we're just getting kicked off here, getting started for the final episode of RPD's 101. You can see that me and Bryce are coming at you from the beach today because it is Hawaiian Friday. And so we're excited to have Friday. It's going to be a great weekend here in Louisville, Kentucky. As you can see, we have tropical weather behind us. Um, and it looks like somebody's already getting started on my screen with happy hour, not me. I don't know who it is though, but we're going to go ahead and have another great webinar. Today we're going to focus on the design process for a flipper using the RPD module. So my name is Cory Lambertson with Whitmix Corporation. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bryce, and we'll go ahead and get things rolling.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? I'm Bryce. Most of you know us by now. If you don't, well, I don't know where you've been because we've been doing these about 3 days a week.
For the last 2 months.
Yeah. So like Cory said, today we're going to be doing flippers / acrylic partials in the RPD module. If you've been joining us, throughout the week, the other 2 days, we did one on Tuesday and Wednesday. This is pretty much going to be very similar to what you've already seen. So a lot of this is going to be kind of a recap from Wednesday, but there may be a few new things here. I think today we're actually going to do one monolithic, just to show that process. Just to get some business out of the way, we are live streaming this on Facebook and Zoom. Which we always do. We always live stream these on Facebook as well. So that being said, this will be recorded, so you can either go back and watch this on our Facebook page, or you can access it from our website as well. So feel free. These are totally free. Feel free to go back and rewatch, or if you have somebody else you want to sit down and have them watch it, totally cool. These are free. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. See, yeah, this one. Does that look kosher?
That looks good to me. I can see everything on your screen.
Awesome.
Yeah, everything looks good there.
Cool. So we're going to use the same model that we have been using all week. So the first thing I'm going to do is start a new order. And side note, if anybody has any questions, really at any point, please feel free to type those. If you're on Facebook, you can type them into the comments. And if you're on Zoom, you can type them into the questions box. Also, especially for anybody that might be watching on Facebook, if you are joining us both in spirit and attire for Hawaiian Shirt Friday, post a picture. Show us your Hawaiian shirt. We've started a little bit of a trend here at Whitmix, and we love seeing different beautiful Hawaiian shirt patterns. So please post a picture. All right, back on track here. So we're going to go ahead and set up a new order form. We'll just call this flipper webinar. And so let's see, let's do essential. So let's do number 8. So I'm going to select number 8 on our order form, and I'm going to select removable. And we can change, if this is going to be printed, we could change the material to model material. And then I'm also going to go up here to anatomy and select anatomy. Now by default, it's gonna jump over here and by default select artificial tooth. So this is what you want to select if you want the tooth and the base plate to be separate files. However, today we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to keep it as a crown pontic because this is going to produce a monolithic partial. So the idea here is you could theoretically print this in a tooth shaded resin, and then the areas that you want to be pink, you could just use some kind of composite, probably light cured, to do so. I know you could use Annex gum. You could even use something like Triad from Dentistry, and just kind of veneer on a light cured material for the pink. So that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on today, is a monolithic.
Now, for the materials that you would use, Bryce, do you think it'd be better to use the actual denture tooth material, or do you think it'd be better to use like the temporary material that Dentka has, for example?
Um, you know, I don't know because the crown and bridge material from Denka is brand new. So I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So I would say that you'd want to stick with using the denture tooth material because it was validated as a long-term device
Mm-hmm.
versus the temporary material. I think is only rated for 30 days.
30
So it
days. Yeah.
depends on what you want to use it for, what the I guess the duration of this prosthetic is going to be.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's what I would go with. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably tend to agree with you. I mean, you could certainly try it. I mean, from an FDA standpoint, I mean, the Crown and Bridge is approved for intraoral use up to 30 days. So if it's a flipper, that's going to be. I mean, theoretically, a flipper should be pretty temporary, anyways. But
yeah.
um,
Yep.
if you're gonna be within 30 days, try it in the Crown and Bridge material. I mean, on realistically, either will or are probably going to work.
Right. Right.
I'm going to click OK, and then we need to import our scan. To do that, I'm going to right click on the case, and I'm going to go down here to import scan, and we're going to be using upper RPD. Click open. You can also use an antagonist if you want, but I don't have one for this particular model, and it's not super relevant for today's series or episode. I'm going to go ahead and right click, and we're going to go into design. I mean, I'll tell you what, these virtual backgrounds,
Are
I
pretty
need
wild, right?
I need to go to the beach. That's what I need. I need like 4 or 5 days without children
In a
in the
beach in your
beach,
life.
in a swim up bar. That's what I need.
That sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds awesome. All right, so first step here is going to be segmentation. Actually, scratch that. I apologize. Um, the first step, we're actually going to extract this tooth, simply because, well, two reasons. A, I didn't have a good model for a flipper, and B, I can show everybody how to use the tooth extraction tool. So we're actually going to extract number 8. So to do that, I actually need to go up here and go back to this first step. So this is the prepare step. Now, by default, your software is going to skip this step because it's optional. So if I go up here on my top bar here and I click on that prepare step, it's going to take us backwards to the prepare step. So what you can do in the prepare step is you can sculpt on your model using the wax knife. You can remove artifacts, which basically means you can remove, like, let's say we want to remove this little bubble here. I can circle around it, click the play button, and it's going to eliminate that.
Yep.
It works with both positive and negative artifacts, which is kind of nice. There is an attachments option here, which I don't really use that in the prepare step. Now, what we're interested right now is the tooth extraction right here. So what we can do here, we're gonna extract number 8. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to an occlusal view. I'm gonna click on the incisal edge, and I'm gonna get this highlighted spline line. Now, what I want to do here, I just want to make sure that it's in the correct placement. So if you need to make any adjustments to that line, go ahead and make them. And then I'm going to click the play button to actually go ahead and extract that tooth. So now you can see it does a pretty good job. I'm going to go in here and sculpt kind of this interproximal area. But it does a pretty good job.
Yep.
And this is just for a demonstration as well. So it'll work fine and dandy for us today. So I'm just going to do a little bit extra here. Oh, this mouse is kind of difficult.
Sweet computer, poor mouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how much a mouse makes a difference
It really does. It's the
for the
scroll.
quality of.
It's the scroll wheel on this one because
Mm,
to pan like this, you push the scroll wheel. This one, it's almost like it slips a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. All right, so that's cool. I like this. We could even, if we really wanted to, say this guy is like freshly extracted. Super fresh. Okay, that'll work. So we've got our model set up. So I'm going to click next, and now it's going to take us back forward to the kind of like the real starting point here, which is segmentation. So the first thing we need to do is please select crown Pontic number 8. Just going to click and select next. And so now we're just like in the other 2 days, we're in surveying and blocking out. So we're going to, this is basically mimicking what you would do analog, where you survey and you apply block out wax to your model. We're doing the same thing. So the best way to set your path of insertion is to go to an occlusal view that you want to use. And then I'm going to click the set from view button. Now you can see it's going to update the color map for our undercuts. So the way that this works, the areas that are marked in yellow, you can see according to this undercut depth chart on the right-hand side. Anything in yellow is going to be between 0 and 0.25 millimeters undercut. Then as you work your way to the deeper colors, the undercuts are more severe. So we'll go with this. I'm going to click next. And now you can see the software went ahead and applied our blockout wax. Up here in the top right-hand corner, I like to turn this on all the way so I can see it a little bit better. And so now what we can do is we can sculpt on our blockout wax. So if we want to increase clasp retention, we can use our subtract tool, and we can come in here, turn up my intensity too much.
Now for your flipper, are you actually going to place a clasp around
No,
that
probably
area?
not. I mean, more than likely you're going to be using a wire clasp.
Okay.
I'm just kind of showing what.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no,
I didn't
I
know
mean,
with the.
you raise a good, no, you raise, I mean, that's a really good, it's a really good point. So, you know, what we're going to be designing today, as you'll see, we're going to basically create the acrylic portion. And then what you could do after you print it, you could grind out a little channel in that base plate, and you could bend your wire clasp and then backfill it with resin and cure it, and then, you know, go from there. And then you've got your flipper.
I wonder if you could make take away some of that I guess the blockout wax on those lingual surfaces, and I wonder if there would be enough retention there to at least keep it in place. You know, I don't know. We'd have to.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe. I wouldn't think. I mean, I'd prefer to have a wire clasp at least around these
for
teeth.
security. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert in this, in partial design, as
Yeah,
you've learned from the past 2 days.
I would be curious to see if anybody had any of our viewers that have actually designed flippers using a digital method, if you have any sort of I guess comments on what you have done for the mechanical retention. So putting it on you all if you have any ideas or tips for our viewers. I'm more than happy to read and share what you have.
Yeah. Totes my goats. I'm gonna remove some of the blockout wax here and here. Okay, so this should be just fine, really. Like Cory astutely pointed out, we're really not going to be clasping anything on the buccal surfaces here anyway, so it's at least not in the software. But you could, theoretically.
So we actually had some feedback right off the bat. So
Sweet.
from the Facebook live stream, SEMO Dental Lab, good friends out in Missouri, he went ahead and stated that I remove all blockout wax on the lingual for a flipper.
For a flipper, okay. Just to maximize probably that retention.
Let's do it.
Yep, let's get rid of it.
Thank you for the tip.
Man, Alan was Johnny on the spot there.
Yeah, he was, wasn't
Alan. You give him some kind of like virtual badge.
We give you the gold star of the
Yes.
day.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and let's move on. And click next. So you can see it dropped our tooth in a pretty good orientation here. Just kidding. Pretty bad.
Very aesthetic.
Yes. Let's go ahead and flip this guy around now. For those of you that use the Crown and Bridge software, you're going to very quickly notice with your keen powers of observation that all of these tools are exactly the same as your Crown and Bridge software. So it's literally the same exact screen, which is really nice. It makes it pretty easy for people to kind of make the jump from fixed to removable, which is nice. So we have a few different options here. We can use the default library, which I'm definitely not going to do. You can choose a tooth from your Smile library. So if you click on the drop-down tab here for Smile library, and then click on the teeth icon, you can choose from your database of libraries, which is kind of nice. Now, one super cool thing that you can do is we can use a mirroring tool. So what we could do is we could mirror copy from scan. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to an occlusal view.
Weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
I
It's
think that
almost like
library. I think the library
the coordinates are off.
must be.
Let's try a different one. No.
Interesting.
We're going to try it anyway. So we're going to select the tooth we're going to copy to. We're going to select the tooth we're going to copy from. It's really hard to see.
For that line.
Adjust these down.
You know, a little trick to probably be able to see it is if we were to use the additional scan tool and bring in that scan again.
It's actually a pretty good idea. You want to try it?
Let's try it. Let's see what it does.
Sweet.
So
Yeah,
if you want to
go ahead.
explain what.
So to bring in an additional scan, that's actually a really brilliant idea. I'm going to click this little blue tooth icon down here. That's going to allow me to import a second scan. So if I click the load button right here, we're on the load section, and then click right here, this load button. It's going to open like a file explorer window. I'm going to select that scan and click open. Now it should come in, yeah, because it's the same scan, it came in on the exact same coordinates. So I don't even have to align anything. If you needed to align anything, you would click the align button, and then you could do a point alignment just like every other 3Shape module. So now what we can do, I can hide our actual working model, and I can start this over, and I can do morph to additional scan. So we're going to morph this tooth. I think, let's see here. Oh, you know what?
That looked good. Looked really good.
No,
you
that's
gotta
not
get
gonna. It's not gonna. It won't let us. It won't let us morph this to a different. So the way it'll work with additional scan is it's going to morph it to whatever's in this area on the additional scan. I don't think it's going to let us draw a spline line on the additional scan around the other tooth, will it?
No. What I was saying is go ahead and use your morph to
just recreate that.
Well, hang on a second. Oh, I can't. Go ahead and undo, and then change it back to copy to like a not additional scan, but your other option, or go down to the drop down again. I'll show you a little. All right, so mirror copy from scan. Do that process again. Yep, and then you'll have to pull that other scan back on.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Haha.
There you go. And then if you
You know,
hide that
Cory,
away,
you're a pretty smart cookie.
see. Every once in a while, people, I have a good idea. This is one of those every once in a whiles.
Just don't let it get out that I just said that. My reputation will be shot.
Don't ever tell anybody. Never share that information with anybody.
No, that was a really good idea, dude. I didn't even think about that.
Booyah.
All right, cool. Line looks good. From here, I'm going to then simply, I need to turn this back up. I'm going to go ahead and just double click on the tooth we're going to copy. Bam, look at that. Sweet.
I like it.
So then from here, I can simply start to morph this into place. Now, one thing we want to pay attention to here is underneath. So we want, what I like to do, I like to turn on the collision lines right here. And this is just for when we're doing a monolithic. So I can see that we have collision underneath on the basal of this tooth. Now, we don't want that because the software is not going to just cut that tooth automatically. So what we're going to need, oh, geez, 3Shape just froze on me. So what we're going to need to do, you could try using the contact smoothing tool, but it's probably going to cut the interproximals as well, which I definitely don't want to do. So what I'm actually going to do, I like to use my tweezers tool right here. And then, actually, you know, I'm going to turn on this additional scan and use this as a guide, sort of. Just kidding, no, I'm not. And I'm going to use my morphing tool here with my control key to do like unidirectional morphing. And I'm just going to start to morph this up just slightly above the tissue. The software, because we're doing this in monolithic, is going to combine the tooth with the framework. So unlike what we did on Wednesday, where I really had to pay really close attention to this, I just need to get it slightly above the tissue to where it'll intersect with our framework.
Nice.
So I'm just going to take all of these little contact areas just barely outside of contact. Take these up. It's getting a little funky on me. All right, that should work.
Yeah.
What I'll probably want to do is just kind of clean it up a little bit. And I could do this all later as well. I'll have multiple chances to do sculpting on it. But, you know, why not just do it now? You can also come in here and we can tweak our interproximals. So we can do that here. Desired distance to neighbors. It's defaulted to 50 microns, which means it's going to take it out of contact by 50 microns. If we wanted to maintain a little bit of contact, I can bump this down, and we can take this into a negative value. So right now we're at negative 20 microns, so it's going to maintain 20 microns of contact here. So there's different ways you can adjust your contacts. Then you can come back if you want to recontour just a little bit. You could do so. one thing you can do that can be really, and this is true of crown and bridge or here in the partials module, you can use this measuring grid over here. One thing that I like to do, because I don't know if it happens to anyone else, but sometimes like just staring at a screen all day, it can kind of start to throw off your perception a little bit. Seriously, like right now I'm trying to eyeball, like, okay, are these centrals the same length? If you've been staring at a screen all day, honestly, some funny things can start happening. You can start seeing different lengths. You can start seeing unicorns and all kinds of stuff on the screen.
Yep.
So honestly, what I like to do, I like to use this measurement grid. And what I'll do is I'll bring these incisal edges to be level with each other. And then I'll just kind of look, let me turn these up. And so now I'll just kind of look at my, my arch here and just see, does everything look like it's lining up properly? Does it look like it's the same length? And it could be a way to just make sure that your length is kind of where it should be. Those of you that are CAD designers currently know that sometimes like you got to just get up and walk away to just refresh your eyes. There have been some times when I've like designed a case and I've looked at it the next day, I'm like, what was I doing? I'm sure that's happened to most.
Yeah.
Most CAD designers.
Sometimes you get frustrated with cases and just walking away and coming back just makes a world of a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true. All right. So I sucked in that lingual a little bit. So let's go ahead and eliminate. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's get to the framework. All right, so now we're actually in the framework design. I'm not going to do anything for a retention grid. I explained this on Wednesday, but I'll explain it again. The reason you don't want to use a retention grid like a plain retention grid, which is something that some people sometimes like to do, but the reason you don't want to do this is because there's a built-in resin gap underneath of these. It's going to default to 0.6, and the lowest you can take it is 0.4. We don't want 0.4 millimeters of gap underneath there because we're not. That's used because, in theory, if you're doing like a cast partial, there's going to be acrylic that goes underneath of that and it's going to fill that resin gap. This is going to be a printed flipper, so there's not going to be any, we don't want any gap there. So for that reason, I'm actually just going to skip the retention grids and we're going to go on to the major connector. And I'm going to actually draw pretty much everything, the entire framework with just the major connector. So here in the major connector section, we have some different options here. The first one is, if I hover over it, maybe. No, okay. This first one is actually major connector. We have anatomical bar, we have occlusal rests, and then we have a window and a custom resin gap. I'm just going to be using the major connector. So I'm going to start drawing my outline. So I'm going to click on the major outlines button. And now I can see my cursor changed to the little pencil. Now over here in material settings, we have some different options. We've got substructure thickness and wax thickness. Those combined are going to be your actual like total thickness for your wax pattern. And then stippling protection, I think basically creates a protected area on the surface that's basically, you won't be able to
I think it's around like the perimeter.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yep, so it's going to draw like a border around the edge of it where it won't allow you to apply any kind of stippled wax.
Stippling.
Yeah, all right, so you can start anywhere, doesn't matter. I'll just start like right here. And I'm just doing single clicks. I'm just going to bring this right underneath of our tooth. And you can bring this, if you want to create some tissue, you can bring it down. If you don't, you can just literally bring it. I'll go back and we'll redo it in a sec.
Just go shy of it.
Yeah. The nice thing about this RPD module is it leaves it like wide open for you to really use it however you want, which is
Yeah.
pretty sweet, to be honest.
The other thing I like about the RPD module, when you're drawing a spline, it puts the spline right where you click.
Yeah.
Versus like in other softwares, for example, the Splint Studio software is amazing, but it is annoying when you're trying to if you're trying to scallop on your splint design. It does not allow you to actually it has like a smoothing algorithm that changes where you're clicking.
Yeah.
Which is a little obnoxious.
True that. Oh, I messed that up. That's okay. I'll come back and fix it. We'll just bring this over for now. Theoretically, I mean, you'd probably be putting another tooth there, but just for today, we're not going to. Guess we could go back and change it, but okay. So now we can come back. We can make any adjustments. I can fix this atrocious thing. Bring these points down. Give it a nice little guy right there. And like I said, on the facial right here, if you wanted to, you could really just bring this border. If you wanted this to be really just like underneath of this tooth, let's get rid of some points. You really could just bring this kind of like right underneath it like that. Just like that. Let's go ahead and let's preview it.
So we had a question from Simo Dental Lab. He asked, what about the bead line?
The bead line. So bead line, is he referring to underneath?
I would imagine so. I'm not an RPD guy either, so or denture removable. Let's be like,
Where'd he? Okay, is that on Facebook?
yeah.
Okay, let me comment back to him. All right, we'll see what he says. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and waiting on Alan.
So yeah, so I think he'd be referring to the I guess putting any sort of bead line to help create any sort of I guess retention or not retention, but
Seal.
yeah, seal itself. And
Yeah.
so the bead line technically should have been, you can either put it in before the actual
Before you
scanning,
scan it in.
yeah, before you actually go through the scanning process, or you can add the bead line in. You could technically carve it in when we virtually removed the tooth itself.
Yeah.
This one actually, I don't think this cast actually has a bead line on it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, just like a post palatal seal on a denture. I mean, I prefer to have it on the actual stone cast personally.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just makes me feel better, I guess. So I would probably carve it in on the actual cast. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and click next. Actually, I need to fix one thing. It's gonna drive me crazy.
Didn't even think about it. We should have put a tooth there.
I know, I didn't think about it either.
That's all right.
Yeah, no biggie. All right, so now we have clasping, which we're not going to be doing. So I'm going to click next. Now we're in Sculpt. So this is where if we want to thicken up this guy a little bit. Now you do want to be careful because you can go right on your tooth like that. So these files at this point are merged. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So you do want to be a little bit careful. If you're doing separate files, you won't be able to sculpt on the tooth at this point. But since we are doing all of this monolithic, so I like to like kind of overbuild it, and I'm going to come back with my smooth tool.
Yep.
Don't freak out.
Oh, I'm freaking. Why is it so lumpy, Bryce?
Come back now, smooth everything out. So now if we look, you can also see it went ahead and merged everything under here. So what we can do now, we can come in here and kind of refine this junction a little bit. Now this is going to be a protected surface, so we're only going to be able to do so much, but we can come under here and at least
get rid of that lip.
Yep. Come on, 3Shape.
Nice. It's amazing how those like little tiny meshes, the way they remesh, how much it drives people nuts. So I saw you just like click on that little hole that it created.
Oh yeah, I can't deal with it. Can't do it. Once we are done sculpting, I'm gonna go ahead and click next. We don't need any finishing lines. We don't have any metal acrylic junctions. Click next. So again, we have sculpt. It doesn't matter really if you sculpt before or now. Either way, same outcome. We do have, though, we have attachments. If you wanted to add any kind of attachments on a flipper, probably not adding any attachments. We also have this surface selection. So this is where the software is going to apply stippling if you want any. So red areas are where it's applying it. If you don't want any, you can just click this red X to clear it all out. And then if you want to just add it in certain areas, you can paint with the selection tool.
And if you're not careful, you could probably apply it to the tooth, I would imagine.
No, actually,
It's
isn't letting
protected.
it. Yeah, interesting.
Huh.
That could be kind of cool. I wish it would let us so we could just see what it looks like.
A textured tooth.
Yeah, that'd be kind of sweet. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just click next. Now here in pre-manufacturing, we can add tissue stops, which we're not going to need. We can add a support bar, which, you probably don't need it if you're 3D printing. It probably will print just fine, but if you want to just be certain that you don't encounter any kind of warping, you can add a support bar here to run between the posteriors just to create more support. It certainly probably isn't going to hurt anything if you do that. What are your thoughts on that, Cory, on 3D printing? Do you think, would you add one here?
I think I probably would just because it's so thin.
Mm-hmm.
You can always cut it off afterwards.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Now we also have some stippled wax settings, so you can choose your pattern. So there's 3 different mediums, 3 different fines, and 3 different courses for a grand total of 9 options.
With a grand total of, hang on a second, 9.
Do the math. Do the math. You can also change like the height of the stippling wax. Goes all the way up to 4/10 of a millimeter, which is probably going to be super intense. And then we also have liner space. Liner space is just going to give you a little buffer zone on the intaglio of this prosthesis. It's only set to 30 microns, so it's super minor. It's just allowing for any possible manufacturing tolerances that may or may not exist. It defaults to 30 microns. Honestly, I'd probably just leave it at that. So I'm going to click next. And at that point, we're done. You can see it's merged everything. And yeah, it looks good. Could have spent a little bit more time on the tooth design, but it's just for demonstration purposes today. So yeah, at this point, let's click close. I'm gonna go ahead and export the STL file. So I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna go to advanced and then generate cam output. Alternatively, you can simply click on the case and push F7 on your keyboard. I'm gonna open that directory. There's our STL file. And bam, we have a flipper.
Look at that.
So if you wanted to add a wire clasp, you could just basically grind out a channel here with your handpiece, bend your clasp, and then refill it with your resin. If you're
Nice.
using you want to use the same resin, obviously. But if you're gonna do that, what I would do, the way I would do it, just to be safe, when you're backfilling with resin, I would do a little bit at a time. So I would add a little bit on top of the clasp, maybe use like a UV hand light to cure it, add a little bit more, cure it a little bit, just because if you add like a big glob of it, chances are there's a good chance it's not going to cure all the way through. So do a little bit at a time, and do that before you do I would say before your final cure. I would add add the clasp and backfill it before your final cure. Let's see. Do you have anything, Cory? Do you want to nest this in Composer, or we have a little bit of time? Do you have any questions or anything?
Let me see if we have any questions. Nothing came through on the actual on the Zoom meeting. Let me take a look and see what's going on the Facebook page real quick. Let's see. Oops. Let's see. I think we had Simo went ahead and commented in regards to your question on the intaglio. It's the seal and the palette, and then he said if you get a digital impression, you'll need to do this. So if you get an intraoral scan, you will have to put that palatal seal or that bead line and digitally place that using the Sculpt tool. And you're going to do that under the prepare stage, which would be the same stage where Bryce actually segmented or removed the tooth to create the flipper. That's where you would actually add that in at that point in time of the design. Let's see here. If you guys have any questions, please shoot it over at any time. We still got a couple more minutes. If not, I think Bryce, you once again did a great job, as always, for the presentation. I mean, if you want to show the nesting software, you can do a quick nest.
Sure.
But other than that, we can go ahead and conclude it.
We got a couple minutes here. Let's just do it. I'll just do it quickly and see if there's any more questions that come in the meantime. So we're not going to go over a whole lot about ASIA and Composer, just because we're doing this quickly in just a couple of minutes. Let's see. We don't have Dentka in here. That's okay. We'll just do Dental model. We'll print this in 50 microns. All right, let's go ahead and add the file. Oops, wrong button. So I'm just going to drag it over and then click open. So bam, flipper. So let's think. best way to nest this, I would say probably something like that. What do you think, Cory?
That's what I was thinking too. That's probably what
Yeah.
I would do. Throw it on a 45.
Yeah. Give it
Support
enough
it.
support. I don't want to do it on the intaglio because I don't want to screw up our fit.
Right.
I don't want to put it on the facial of the tooth either. Yeah, probably something like that, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's go
That
ahead
should
and
print.
let's add some supports.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be super easy.
Yeah.
That'll be super easy to clean up. And
Polish
from
it and away
there,
you go.
from there I would send it. So pretty easy to nest. And again, you could print this in like either the denture tooth or the Dentka crown and bridge, depending on how long the patient's going to be wearing it. Just to reiterate, the Dentka crown and bridge is indicated for up to 30 days, and the denture tooth is indicated for, is it 2 years?
Oh well, that's what they did testings, and the prosthetic lasts for 2 years.
Yeah.
Or and greater. Um, it's a permanent structure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's used for denture though. So
Yeah. Right.
yeah. But something like this, you could print a couple of them. I was watching this. There was this YouTube video that came up. You watch a video on YouTube, and then after that first one, it just like automatically feeds stuff through.
Yeah.
There's a guy going zip lining, and he was laughing the whole entire time. And when he was laughing, his flipper flew out of his mouth. And so, and you're not getting it back because it fell down. It fell down this valley that he was going through. But imagine printing a couple as a backup. Like hey, or even have. I mean, you could even have it. I know it sounds silly. Do it a couple shades. So if you really wanted to to throw off your appearance, do
Yeah.
a shade darker, like you got a dead tooth.
It's like, I'm just really feeling like an A2 today.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
with that, you could do it like for like Halloween or whatever. You could actually, if you could print one out of like a black resin.
Yeah, that'd be
But
cool.
make it look like you're actually. Why would you do that? You already have a missing tooth.
So just to demonstrate, so I've got 4 here. So let's say you wanna print this in the crown and bridge resin, and you want them to have a 4-month supply of flippers. We can actually calculate the cost here. Do you know what the price is on the Denka crown and bridge?
I would say, just to be safe, let's do 420. It'd probably be around that. Maybe it may be even more. Let me see. Let me go to Denka's website. They may have it listed as a retail. 500. Actually, it is 500.
500. Sounds like a lot. Guess what? It's only $3.50 to print 4 of them.
Less than $1 each.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And how long did it take you to do it? It took us 45 minutes to do it, but that's because we're talking our way through it. Without it, what do you think? 10 minutes?
10 minutes probably tops if you've used the software before. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
A few minutes to nest it, and then you're looking at, for 4 of them, less than $3.50 to print. You can't beat that. Post processing's minimal. You snap off the supports, do your cure. If you want to add any pink, if you're using something like Triad, it's a couple of minutes to veneer some pink on there. It's almost no time.
Yeah.
So it's a super low cost manufacturing process, which is just awesome. I love that.
Yep.
Love it.
Affordable direct manufacturing almost.
Yes, one could say. One could say. Cool. Cory, do you have anything else? That's about all I have.
That's it. I think this is it turned out really good. Thank you for showing the actual nesting. Let me check the questions one more time just to make sure. The Zoom meeting doesn't have anything, and then let me go back. Oops. Maybe. If I know how to work a computer. It
You
doesn't
kind of
look
do that for a living. Well, I would think so.
some days. That was it. Simo said thank you. Let's see here. Well, it looks like we had one more. Nope, that was it. So
Awesome. Awesome.
thank you all for attending.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this special edition live
This
Hawaiian Shirt Friday.
lovely sunny day behind us. It's I just need a Mai Tai and we'll be rocking and rolling.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, this is recorded. Feel free to check it out at your leisure, either on Facebook or on our website. Otherwise, hey, Cory, real quick, what are we doing next week? Do we have anything
Oh
scheduled?
yep. So let me go to next week we have uh next week's a fun week too. So next week we're doing I think it's the week of copy. So three shape copy tips and tricks 101. So on Monday it's going to be you and Evan. So Evan and Bryce are going to do copy mill for a single restoration. Then we're going to do copy mill for like screw retained restorations, and then on Friday we're going to do copy denture, which is pretty
Hmm.
exciting to be able to see that.
Yep.
And then the week of June 8th, we have you and me. We're going to do Toronto Bridge design using the 2020 software. And then from there, we're going to do, you and Evan are going to do another touch up on advanced denture design. So to cover any sort of questions anybody has. So it's going to be, I think that's going to be more of like a QA. How do
Hmm.
I do this with the denture software? Uh,
Sweet.
and, and then on Friday to conclude the session on June 12th, we're going to do custom impression tray. So that'll be still a lot that we have coming down the pipeline. And then from there, we'll reassess the situation that we're in for this COVID and see if we still need to be still see if we can actually push more of these videos out on this demand that we have. So
Cool.
uh, thank you all again for taking part of this, and we appreciate your time that you sacrifice to watch and join in on these webinars.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.